Welcome, everyone, to the Business Freedom and Legacy Summit. We're excited to have you here today. We're going to be going over all the different ways that you can utilize all these different techniques to be able to reduce stress as a business owner. Maybe you're someone who's in corporate, who's wanting to start a business on the side, to be able to have something secure or be able to just go right into a full-time business. So we want to be supportive to you and help you with all of the different things that could go on as being a business owner. There's always a lot of stress involved with that and just life in general. So I have a wonderful guest speaker who's going to be addressing all of those things in a unique way, in a unique perspective, because a lot of people talk about lowering your stress levels and lowering the amount of stress that you have in your life, where she actually can show you how you can adapt to that stress and be able to overcome any kind of negative responses because of it. So I'd like to introduce Sara Register. She's the founder of Directions for Wellness, an international health and lifestyle consulting practice that applies the new science of stress to create her stress mastery program. As a speaker and workshop facilitator, she supports success-driven individuals to rewire stress patterns so they can productively meet stress triggers without wiping themselves out. Sara's expertise lies in exposing the underlying patterns that keep us stuck in our stress, sabotaging our health, relationships, and success. Sara is the creator of stress mastery programs for individuals and groups. Her programs train resilient leadership so you can be a stress responder and not a stress reactor. Sara is the author of Courage to Shine: How to Feel Confident Outside Your Comfort Zone, a mind, body, spirit approach to stress resilience teachings and practices. She shares her own journey with stress wipeout as a success-driven healthcare professional and how stress was her greatest teacher for self-healing and personal transformation. I'd like to invite you to the stage, Sara, and tell us a little bit about how you got into this stress mastery program that you've created. What was your background before starting this program?
Yes, Jen, thanks for that introduction. And it's been a journey, I can tell you. And I started out as a very success driven healthcare professional in nursing at a major medical center. And I had a pattern at work where I wanted to really, show up strong, give my best, be successful. And as a consequence of that, I lived in a lot of stress and I didn't really have good strategy for boundaries or discernment about how to prioritize, my work and my life. And so I wiped out my health in significant ways multiple times from the stress I was in. And it was really, significant that every time I was sick with something, I was able to heal myself and get back into the stream of my profession. And then I would do the same thing again. And so I did this dance with making myself sick from my stress, getting well, getting back in there till I had the epiphany, like a huge transformational moment where I could see, wow, it's amazing how I can heal myself. And I wonder how I could help others heal themselves. And then there was also this, there must be a way to be successful without wiping myself out in the process. And so that started my journey. And it happened to be that I talked at that time, I was working in the area of cardiac medicine. And as I was talking with my patients in that area, I could see that mind, body, spirit in their own life, the stories they would share about, how they were brokenhearted, not just like romantically, but their dreams and what they wanted in their life, and here they are with a physical heart problem. And I could see that journey again of that mind, body, spirit of healing is not always just the physical focus. And so from there I went on to study shamanism as an indigenous wisdom of healing for over 20 years, and now I teach it and internationally. And it involves, working with nature and the elements and wisdom to create transformation in terms of leadership, personal, professional, life skills, and that personal healing journey. And I'm also trained at Duke in integrative medicine as a nationally board certified health and wellness coach. And so my journey of that whole thing that I went through really helps me bring in Western medicine model and current science of stress resilience in with personal transformation and healing. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the kind of foundation of how I created my stress mastery programs. Because what I learned in the process is that sometimes reducing stress and managing stress is not this long term solution. That often the things we stress about are those things that are important to us, that we really care about, whether it's our career, our success, our children, our partner, our family. We need often to find a better strategy to actually meet those stress triggers successfully
Mm-hmm.
rather than getting rid of them, leaving the job, getting rid of your children, whatever it would be to reduce your stress. No, we got to figure out, okay, how can I grow from this? How can I transform what isn't working into something that is working? And
Mm-hmm.
I would say that what I bring to my clients and to the organizations I work with is that this resilience is something you train to meet that edge so you can grow and refine and be, stronger, shinier, healthier, happier in the process.
And we hear a lot about stress management and stress reduction or elimination of, stress and that sort of thing. So what makes your stress mastery method unique compared to the stress management methods or stress reduction methods that are out there?
Yeah, I think there's great value in all the ways that people approach for themselves how to reduce stress and manage their stress. Because at some level, it is about how you prioritize in your life.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other aspects of it that can be trained and integrated into how you communicate with people. Huge piece about how can I communicate in a way that I'm responding and listening and not being triggered and reactive. So that's an important pattern to turn around, is to get out of reactivity of the what am I going to do, into the dropping in with more mindful awareness of taking that breath, pausing and go, whew, this is big. How am I going to get through this?
Mm-hmm.
And so part of what I bring is let's get out of the what reaction mind and into the how solution mind. And so this is where leadership, whether it's in your own life, in your family, or in your workplace, that you're going to be much more energy conserving and solution oriented if you can take that pause, take a breath, drop in, and how am I going to meet this? What are my options? What are my strategies? So part of it is how we communicate, how we listen, how we actually practice some mindful awareness strategies that are easy to use at work and at home. That makes that's part of the training. And I also offer really unique teachings that are part of this ancient lineage, that I'm part of this international community
Mm-hmm.
that really helps people heal at deep levels the wounding and the way we sabotage ourselves from things like shame, blame, guilt, resistance, all of those internal. So I would say, in my stress mastery program, in terms of our listeners today, there's the busy stress of how you choreograph your life and how you're prioritizing your values. That's important work to sort out what really matters today. What can I do today? How can I make sure that I can do this today, that tomorrow? Who can I ask for help? How you navigate the busyness. But
Mm-hmm.
there's another bigger chunk of the internal stress. And this is my ideal clients and the people I work with professionally, that they look like they have it all together on the outside. They're success driven, growth mindset, really out there making their impact. And often inside, it's a whole nother story. That's where the insecurity is that you're hiding, or the doubt and that resistance that you're having to push through. And so that internal stress is, I would say, in the big picture, what wipes out our health and our happiness more than just the busy stress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you can learn to manage your stress by saying no and blocking your calendar. I mean, there's some really good strategies. But at the end of the day, what drives our stress in a big percentage is our values and how they're competing with each other. My value for family, my value for me time, my value for my team, my value for this next stretch of excellence I want to go for, my value for nature, my value for my health and what I want to eat. It's like this little inner war inside of all these choices and options. And
Mm-hmm.
how can we say yes to those heart's desires? How can I say yes that I really do need that me time for me so I can show up better for my family? Or
Awesome.
how can I
Mm-hmm.
have those boundaries with difficult people at work rather than leaving the job, find a more effective way to deal with difficult people? And then it's just like you don't have to keep extricating yourself from toxic situations. You actually can be able to not be at the impact, not have the
Mm-hmm.
effect of people that have bad behavior or, unhealthy language. So
Right.
this
So,
is like the bigger picture. I kind of gave you a lot, but my programs are very individualized based
mhm.
on what's going on for that person. It's
Mm.
customized.
And I think when we were talking about this before, you were saying how you don't have to leave certain work situations or stressful work environments with your stress mastery program because you train people to be able to deal with those so that they can stay in that environment for the long haul. They don't have to go from one place to another. And you said it might be, you don't know if you're going to experience something the same or worse in the next environment, so you might as well adapt and adjust to what you're going through at this time. So can you explain how that would work with your stress mastery program? I think you said it would give people a longer career span as well in wherever they're placed in at this time, rather than having to go from one place to another.
Yes, that's such a strong point that you make. And a lot of my training in the healing paradigm that I work with is really about patterns, where we open the door to something, where do we need to close the door, what are we learning in that process. That's part of the body of wisdom that I work with that helps me support people with their patterns to see where are you opening the door to actually get a lesson or to evolve and grow in some way. What steps do you need to do to close the door to change that pattern? And so from that perspective, I've had this conversation with many clients. They're at the end of their rope, this job, they just know they need to leave, or this relationship, they've just got to get out of it. And so the invitation is, if you look at where your situation is right now, what's difficult and challenging about it, let's work on the pattern of where you are right here, right now, and transform and change that so that if you do go to another relationship or you do decide to go and have a different job or
Mm-hmm.
career change, you're not bringing the old pattern into the new environment. Because people, by nature, how we're designed in our neurosystem is very habitual and patterned. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of, we don't have to learn how to drive a car every time we get in the car to go to the grocery store. So part of it's very adaptive to get these patterns hardwired in our nervous system. But
Mm-hmm.
to unwrap those nervous system patterns is the process and the work. And I have found time and time again, when this individual can do the work of where you are right now in this situation that's so stressful or so challenging, you're actually going to be able to move forward and not have to learn that way anymore. You can get new lessons and new opportunities to grow. But the more we just leave a situation or quit, we're
Mm-hmm.
not going to
Mm-hmm.
have the opportunity to really stretch into it to grow and to heal and to rise to the higher road. And so it's challenges in our life, whether it's a work environment or a family environment or a health challenge. These are all like teachers knocking on our door,
Mm-hmm.
ready to give us something that we can learn and grow from. And so my theory, that I work with in my programs is, how can we grow from our stress? How
Mm-hmm.
can we get out of that comfort zone and stretch beyond what we know into the unknown? And so the results that I've seen, Jen, are that when you can change the pattern of where you are right here, right now, it actually gets better. Whether it's the relationship with your partner, their
Mm-hmm.
job environment, that you're
Mm-hmm.
not as reactive, that you have strategies now to just, let things be what they are, communicate what you need to communicate,
Mm-hmm.
and by the individual doing their own inner work, they're going to impact their outer world.
Mm,
And so it's easy to blame on an environment or a person and escape and get away from. But you're almost like when people say to me, "Oh, I don't have any stress. My life is good." And I think inside, okay, well, your life must be really boring because it doesn't sound like you're stretching yourself, like you're trying to go
mm,
for the more. And
right.
unknown growth, it is uncomfortable. It is stressful to change, but there's like a golden nugget on the other side of it. And so
Mhm.
that's my job as integrative health coach, to hold that golden nugget, and we both plan how you're going to get there.
I love that because, yeah, I heard many years ago, maybe the stats have changed now, but they always say just wait 21 days and everything will change again. So don't make rash decisions or permanent decisions based on what's happening now. Because if you just stick it out, like you're saying, things are going to get better and that sort of thing. And it reminds me of, I heard this story of this Japanese fish, I guess, that they use for sushi that, they have to deliver it fresh. And every time they try to deliver it, it would show up, unalive. And then they were trying to figure it out. They thought, okay, put it in water in a tank, and it still didn't end up, that way. And so then they thought, oh, well, we'll put its enemy, its natural predator in there with the tank. And it showed up live and fresh and, you know, and
Swimming
ready.
for its life.
Yeah. So I love what you said about, if you don't have stress in your life, you don't have fun. You're not having anything exciting going on. It must be a really boring life. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a really great perspective
Mm-hmm.
regarding stress. I never thought of it that way. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
really powerful. So, with regards to your health and wellness coaching, how does that differ between life coaching or executive coaching with regards to the stress mastery program?
Mm-hmm. I have a deep respect for anyone that has taken the time to get trained in the coaching communication skills and how to support people. And it's interesting because integrative, or I should say health and wellness coaching, it's a nationally board certification and it's an evolving, emerging field. So that's where people haven't been as familiar with it. And life coaching is really like, it's a broader term, whether you're applying it to the individual at home or the person at work. Many executive coaches, are really targeting people in their work environment and their professional life. But the health and wellness coaching is more of the mind, body, spirit, holistic approach. And it is about how you support that individual to empower them, I would say, to have agency or autonomy to be their own change. And
Mm-hmm.
in that sense, they get to choose, how they want to do it, where they want to go. And it's like when you make change in your life, your health gets better because ultimately we are physical beings
Mm-hmm.
and we learn through our physical world, through our physical health, through our physical work environment. And so the health and wellness coaching really takes a holistic approach of that individual in the whole mind, body, spirit wholeness of the work that you do together can impact not only your work, but your home and your family. And this concept of the wellness part of it is really that, we know that people who live in stress chronically, this is another arena where I help people, it's their stress response. That people have the habitual stress response, the default or fight or flight, fight or flight, fight or flight all day long, whether it's, someone stole your pencil off your desk at work or you've just had a spat with your spouse in the kitchen. And it's like trying to kill a fly with a sledgehammer.
Mm-hmm.
That part of the work we do is to train more productive stress responses rather than always the default that's triggering the body into the whole mechanism of the sympathetic nervous system to create that chain reaction that you're fleeing for your life. Now, if you're driving your car and you want to avoid a car accident,